waking up from a nice nap. Oh yeah, that's right. We were working on applied energistics, right? So to get started with applied energistics today and actually start to transition our storage, well, it's going to require a lot of work. Now the work may be needed, but the brain power, well, you don't have to use as much because channels have been doubled in this pack, meaning that a default cable line, which would only hold 8 channels, allowing you to put 8 devices on it, can now hold up to 16, and it's also doubled for your main large dense cables. Those will now be able to support 64 channels per cable. That is huge. That means each side of the controller supports 64 channels. I don't think channels are going to be anything we really have to worry about in this pack. And you know what? That's a good thing because we don't have extended AE in here. So yes, allowing us to send more channels wirelessly over the default network is going to be very nice. Now this has been running for a very, very short period, and look how much Certus we now have. A lot more Certus, and I can now start to charge a lot more of it. And we're going to need all of this to truly get started with this mod. Now I was thinking, where do I actually want to put this applied energistic system? Because currently up top is where my main storage is at, but I eventually want to remove this and replace this with sort of like an observation hub up here. But for right now, I was thinking maybe I can just extend another tube down and then bridge across and then add one of these rooms down, which we will contain our primary source for our AE network. But to do this, yes, I am going to have to paste this down, but I'm thinking I can go ahead and paste it like right here. And then just clear out the area. Aha. And then I think add some stairs right here. And that way we have this little dip, but it's just going to give it some more depth to the build. Yeah, I don't think this is going to look bad at all. And down underneath here, what I'm going to do is put a tea room because I don't want to start expanding out this way and ruining our beautiful view that we have in our bedroom. Also, it might reduce the signal. So I'm thinking to match all of the other setups that I've done, this looks like it's going to be the perfect placement. However, I am going to have to figure out how to fade in the back here to make it fit in a little bit better. I don't think I accounted for that, and that might actually look good. Because down here, we're going to just have a ladder, yeah, that runs down the length of this entire area. So a little boop here, and then I just need to continue up, right? All the way up. Making sure I place this in right, of course. And there we go, all the way up. And this looks so good. Okay, this is turning out way better than I was originally planning. Now for this section, I've decided to actually line it up with this middle section here. Now this may be a little bit odd, but in reality, it still lines up with these sections. You can see right here, the tube is still here. So what I'm gonna do here is probably just do a solid glass that just runs across. But yeah, that's basically it. As soon as I'm ready to go, I can apply this. The cool thing is it's still technically lined up. I just sort of centered it with this point instead of this point. You know what? I bet at this point, you guys are probably like, Chosen, they've got to be tired of sending you airdrops at this point. Like, you're not getting anywhere. Like, there's no way they're going to keep sending these items to you. A netherite upgrade. I will take that. You know what, though? I am pretty happy to still see that they know I'm missing. But what they don't understand is that I'm beginning to fall in love with this place, you know? Yeah, it's starting to make it look nice, and I'm really starting to not want to leave. But don't tell them that. Even though those creatures that we discovered last episode, they do make it a little more scary here. Now I've gone ahead and made a couple of things. For example, an ME crafting terminal, not too bad, a crystal resonant generator to power things, and an ME drive. Now my goal is to store a lot of our random stuff in at least one of these ME drives that are completely filled with 1K storage cells. Now, I know you may be like, Chosen, well, why don't you use the AE2 things? And yes, I completely agree. That'll be a great way to actually store items. There is the ability for you to store items kind of like it's refined storage with AE2 things. So if I just search things like this, you can see down here we do have disks, and it says item storage disk storage for dummies, which removes the typing. So you don't really have to worry about typings. However, typings aren't that bad, and you can store a lot of items just in a singular 1K storage disk. Oh, and by the way, yeah, this crystal resonant generator, completely capable of powering your basic storage here. However, we are going to have to expand our power system soon. But for right now, this will definitely work. And my goal is to try and get most of our items that aren't being automated, for example, to simply be pulled out of here. And that is probably going to be the items that are not in large quantities, and get them over here in this storage just to fill up like one of these drives. And I mean, just look at this, right? This is how cheap just one of these are. And if we make 10 of these, for example, right, we can make ourselves about 10, so long as this is not using charge. Actually, it doesn't really matter if it's using charge or not. We have plenty of this stuff. I'm going to make 10 just like that, and then convert this and use a housing right here. So this right, oh, there's so many options now. It does get kind of confusing. Anyways, back to this. This is what we need right here. So we'll make a little bit of glass, and all of this is one of the major reasons why I want to actually move out of this storage. Crafting in this has been very janky. Also, if you craft too much stuff out of here, I've been getting like RAM crashes that are related to me pulling items out of here and stuff like this. So yes, while it is a great option, integrated dynamics is good early game. Once you start getting even as complicated as we've gotten it, you might run into some issues. And I know I have always ran into issues like this. And so, yes, I am ready to get rid of the jank as soon as possible and get into something that I'm very familiar with and I know works really, really well. So here we go. This is all of these components. Looks like we need a little bit more glass. Almost. We're almost there. Is that the last one? That's the last one. So perfect. So now what I can do is I can just simply fill this entire thing with 1Ks. And now I can just start dumping all of our items from my inventory here directly into this. Well, and trying my best to avoid the items from the top. And I'm going to work my way from the bottom up, essentially. Oh, also something that I ended up getting was a dense energy cell. This is an incredibly powerful thing to have gotten this early. And so actually what I'm going to do is take this off, place the dense energy cell here, and then I can place this resonant on top of that, and any extra power that we're generating will go into here, allowing us to input a bunch of items in here without experiencing any weird buffering issues. So now to better explain why I'm doing it this way, essentially what I'm doing is I'm using up these types. So every single item that isn't stackable takes up one type. And then moving over here, it's going to just fill up 63 more types. I tend to think of this as this is a chest that has 63 slots in it, and those slots can hold more than a stack of items each. But you got to keep in mind, if you fill up the entire chest with random different items, such as these that don't stack, it's going to fill up all of the typings. That's the best way of thinking about applied energistics. And that's why I'm doing this. So that way we can dump all of our, nonsense items into here, filling up these super cheap 1Ks, and then start to make the higher tier ones, which are going to ultimately store our higher value materials up here that are stored in a lot bigger bulk. I can't believe this, but the drive filled to the brim with all of these different item types. And if we take a look at our storage, everything but the saplings for the most part are pulled out. This is it. All of the stuff that you see here, though, is basically things that we have automation for. So thankfully, through quests, we do have ourselves a 16K drive. So I'll just drop that down here. And now most of everything else can start to be stored in this. Okay, the magic has happened, and almost all of my storage has now been moved. Very, very nice. And all of the stuff that you see in here, well, besides the random potato, all of these things are being passively generated, and the osmium dust. Yeah, all of the stuff you see here is just the stuff that's technically automated. And we've essentially compressed all of that storage down into one drive filled with a bunch of 1Ks, and then we just have one 16K and barely any of another 16K filled. These two 16Ks that I placed in here, well, they barely have anything in them at all. And that right there is essentially everything compressed down into a nice compact space. Now, we still have a couple of other problems to solve. Power, for example. We really need power before we can start to use this effectively. For example, I can currently access this storage from basically anywhere, but I can also do that with applied energistics. However, though, to get this to be working, we are going to need to expand our power a bit more. So it's almost like we're taking a step back, but we're taking a step back so that way we can make our future better, technically. And also, I am so tired of crashing. I am so tired of it. So now our biggest problem is power. But what if I told you there was a way to transfer power wirelessly and honestly pretty cheap? Well, to be honest, you probably wouldn't be surprised at all. And looking at this page, you might be thinking, oh, how? Again? No. Actually, I plan on going pretty old school here and diving back into RF tools power. And we can transfer power within our dimension using our dimensional cell here. This thing is rather cheap to make. There's not a lot of moving parts, honestly, but we are going to need 2 cells essentially for the base tier here. And there are different tiers. They do start to get more and more expensive, but the basic one should be more than enough for us to be able to carry some power from one place to another, especially since we're not generating a whole lot of it. So how do we do this? Well, first we need to make ourselves 2-dimensional cells. One to receive power, and then of course one to send power. Then we're also going to need power cards. These are what's going to allow us to link one cell to another. So when we place these down, of course, they look entirely different, right? But inside of here, we have a link card. So when we place this in, you can see this one is now bound to 1. And what we can do is we can then assign this card to 1. And when we place this in here, these 2 are now linked together. So if I give this one power through a generator, I don't know if I have just a plain old generator in here, but if I was to give this power in some way, this will then charge up. And I think, can this send power to the machine? No, it looks like that might actually be just a charging port. Okay, enough of me trying to demonstrate this here. Notice, by the way, when I pick them up, they are linked. So yes, this right here is the one that I want, or I guess any of them will work so long as they're bound together. But we just need to tap this into our normal power grid. So right over here, all we got to do is plop this on our cable somewhere. Let's just put it here for right now. And it looks like it's not receiving power. We'll set this to set sides to receive in on all sides. There is a wrench that you can use, by the way. These little dots indicate if it's an input or output, and you use the wrench from RF Tools to be able to do that. But there it goes. It's now filled up. And another cool thing is the more cells you have, the larger your power buffer will ultimately be on that cell. I think it might be a good idea, though, for me to take this cell and probably connect it to our capacitor bank. But for right now, we'll just let it set where it is. And let's see, when I place this one down anywhere, does it now have power? It does. And notice, by the way, because I placed another one down, it just received a bigger buffer. And that's kind of the power of this, right? The more of them you have, the bigger the buffer. However, though, the farther away these things are, I do believe the more power loss, quote unquote, that you're going to have. It's not going to be super noticeable, but it could become an issue. And then when you infuse this, that's going to help reduce that long distance power loss. But yeah, I'm not super worried about that just yet. Just really want to make sure that I can replace this and I can use like an energy acceptor for now, or even a controller. I think at this point, making a controller might not be a bad idea. Let's see, we're going to need some skystone. So it does require us to smelt some skystone. That's not going to be too hard at all. There we go. After smelting a little bit, we now have a controller. The cool part about a controller is it kind of also works as an energy acceptor, allowing you to just connect directly up to it with RF power. So there we go. If we set this to output now, this will then power on, and this is now receiving power directly. Even though the controller does take a little bit of power in itself, like passive drain is 3 AE, and the larger the setup, the more power it's going to cost. But if we set this to FE power units, we can now see how much we're actually using to power this whole network. Yeah, not a lot at all. So I guess it's time to get the wireless up and running now that we have this. Now, it's not going to be cross-dimensional wireless just yet, but that will be easily done soon. The big thing I want to get, though, is the wireless access point. And this is actually the one that was provided in the original structure whenever we crash landed down here in the water. So thankfully, this was one component that survived the trip. And this is a pretty powerful component, honestly, because what this is going to allow me to do is not only link a wireless terminal, no. It's also going to allow me to link things like my building gadget, my copy paste gadget, my exchanging gadget. All of that can be linked in by simply taking this and placing it in just like so. And this is going to be linked to this, pulling its ingredients from our inventory, from our backpack, but also from our applied Energistics system. Now let's make that wireless terminal. So by default, it's going to be kind of hard to start charging this up. Well, I mean, honestly, our pocket generators are going to drain. They're going to charge it up. But I think it might be time to move away from the pocket generators and start to simply charge things by using an item that we actually got, which was a player transmitter. This thing is incredibly powerful, guys. Like this is some good stuff right here. But I will say, to be able to get this to fully work, right, we are going to need to make a binding card, but that's not that hard. Like getting this thing was pretty amazing. And I believe I can just tap it directly into the top here. Yeah, if I place this right up here, this should start getting some good power. It might be honestly too much power. Maybe not. Okay, so if I place it here, it's going to start getting power. Really anywhere I place it, it's going to hold a lot. And yeah, this is really going to drain the power network. 40 million FE is what this thing can buffer power-wise. So yeah, that's going to take a little bit of time. But notice it has a slot in here. The only thing we really need to worry about is essentially putting in a singular card. So if we go to the power mod, which we are, I guess, getting a little bit into the power mod, we need to make a blank card. Looks like this. Requires a little bit of the dielectric paste. And if you've not made any of this, like it's pretty straightforward so long as you've gone to the nether. It looks like, yeah, we just need some verticals. So a little bit of iron and verticals. And there we go. So we have a blank card. Then the blank card needs to be turned into a binding card. And technically, if we had an Enderman, we could right-click this on an Enderman and it will be cross-dimensional power. But for right now, we only can right-click it on ourselves. And this is now set to us. And whenever we put this card in here, we now have wireless player charging. Up to 40,000 FE per tick charge rate on our inventory. So yeah, there's probably not going to be a lot that we're going to run into power-wise when it comes to charging items in our inventory. This was actually an insane get that we got out of our, I believe our quest book. Oh, and speaking of quests, I probably should complete some of these because who knows what I'm actually going to get from here. I could get terminals and all kinds of other fun stuff, maybe a wireless or I don't know. It'd be really nice actually to get this up and running, right? Yeah, the matter condenser. Oh, we really should set that up. Okay, but first though, we definitely need to drop the wireless terminal inside this slot to bind it. And now we can access this up to 16 blocks away. Of course, we can increase that range though with a little bit of range boosters. And once we have ourselves some singularities, that's when the true potential starts to arise. Now to make these boosters, yeah, I'm gonna have to use the inscriber here and make a few ender dust. And by the way, I think by default, the key is G to open up this menu, but man, there is a lot of good tips that are in here. All of these mods, I mean, there's so much information inside of here, especially in the example setups that show you how to set up all kinds of farms and stuff within Applied Energistics. I like to set the keybind for the guide to W, much like create. But of course, you can, I think by default it is set to G. Always like to guide people to this information because I feel like if there's something I don't cover, that guide is definitely going to have that information there. Now, perfect. With 8 of those, we can make quite a few boosters here. I'm thinking 16 is probably plenty for now, and that allows us to cover up to 80. However, this is going to come at a cost of power, and we are now passively using 120 FE per tick just to run our Applied Energistics system, primarily due to the RF cost of the wireless access. But I mean, I think 80 will allow us to reach most of our base, if not all of it. And unlike our portable storage terminal right here, what we can actually do with this is we can put this in really any slot. So for example, the personal shrinking device or even the crafting table on a stick slot, we can place that in there and we're basically ready to go. And all I can do now is, or what I can do now is actually set my keybinds to the appropriate key. I love to use Control E to open up this crafting terminal. Underneath the open wireless terminal, bam, Control E, and now we can access this on the fly. It's really nice to do that. Like Control E to hit it and then hit E to close it. It's just super convenient. By the way, I wanted to come up top and test if the range was good. It seems good. And also airdrop. I can't give these up. These are so good. These are addicting. Another 16K. I swear this mod pack is reading my mind. We got dye seeds. It's reading my mind and knows that I'm diving into more applied energistics? How does it know? Now, if you're new to my channel, of course, I recommend clicking that subscribe button. I know if you've made it this far in the video and you haven't actually been subscribed, I'm pretty surprised. But those of you who have known me for a while know that at this point, after getting the applied energistics basics up and running, things are going to get very wild very, very soon. As this just essentially has unlocked the Chamber of Secrets, we are about to explore and bust open more applied energistics and all of its add-ons. But there's still several other things that we need before that becomes really, really possible. And that's going to be a mob farm and expansion of our power. Now, sometimes it's easy for me to forget this, but we are in the newer version. We're using the newer version of applied energistics, and this does come with a few perks. Let's, for example, say I have placed down a charger, right? And we just crafted up our terminal. You need the terminal for this to work. And I have another charger inside of my inventory. It's stored inside of the actual storage itself. And let's just say I don't want to open this up and search charger, right? That's too much work. Well, what I can do is I can go in here in the wireless terminal settings and I can toggle the enable pick block. And if you've never used pick block, essentially it's your middle mouse click button on the block you're looking at. And notice when I did that, I hit that button, it just threw 32 concrete into my inventory. Well, I can do the same thing for machines. So I just do this, and as you can see, that just went right into my inventory, allowing me to place this down. And let's say I'm working on a build and I'm like, I need a power cable. Bam, I just middle click and I can pull out a power cable directly out of the storage. Like, there is some tremendous power to this tool, and honestly makes applied energistics even more powerful than it used to be. Now, I do need to head into the nether real quick, and this is definitely a stark transition here, but I want to grab some blaze rods, and I think this is probably the easiest way to do that. Wait for our blaze spawner to conjure some up. And I want to do this because we actually now have the ability to possibly automate the production of blaze rods without even using a blaze spawner. Yeah, it shouldn't be too difficult to do. But I do need this for blaze mesh, and we are going to use this on our already set up netherrack automation, right? So yeah, this should work perfect. Where are you at? There you are. Perfect. So yeah, I think about 6 of these blaze rods should be good. It feels so cursed, by the way, running on lava. And I know this was, like I said, kind of a stark transition, but I really need to get some of the mage bloom up and running. I know I could torque to grow this, but I'm just trying to get a bit of this like quickly, because we can turn this into mage bloom fiber, and this is actually utilized in the blazing mesh. The blaze mesh does some really cool stuff. So we already have lava being fed into here, but you notice we are now going to get like solid quartz instead of like the little quartz pebbles. And we actually get blaze powder out of here as well, and some black quartz. And the blaze powder is good because we already have the assembly machine that allows us to compress this into actual blaze rods. So this kind of solves like 2 problems technically. And I think we just need to take our regular diamond mesh that we have going over here and doing that with that. Now the other stuff I'm not too worried about. That's like automated and working well. This I don't have set up on that automation. So can we take a gold mesh and upgrade that? Yes. Okay, so we need to upgrade it to diamond. And then we upgrade that into blazing mesh, and it's already got lava in here. Oh, the mesh doesn't fit in the sleuth. Oh, that's right, because the sleuth here, I think, requires the next tier upgrade. Ah, interesting. Okay, so this requires a smithing template, netherite, and a sleuth. Actually, we have all of this stuff. We've been getting so many netherite ingots. Let's go ahead and do this. Now, I'm almost positive the netherite sleuth, though, requires RF power to run. And thankfully, we just touched on wireless power. So, yeah, all of that should start working. Yeah, so long as we give this something to power it, which I think I'm going to put, like, right here. And this, I guess, is another great example to show off the, like, power setup here. So to link, we just click here to link, and then we place this over. Of course, our power is still buffering the player transmitter. That is almost done, but my goodness, it's taking quite a while. Oh yeah, and underneath that structure that I was just in, when I broke the barrels, the purple barrels, a netherite cobble generator, like for free, and also some ender pouches. So I went ahead and shut off the power from going into there, so that way I can focus on just sending power here. Set this to output, and then place our link card in. And there we go. Now it's expanded even more. Now this can hold like 3 million. And look, look what is actually running now. Oh, that's so good. Okay, and now it's producing blaze, soul, all kinds of goodies. Okay, it's going to be a lot nicer whenever we have all of these inventories essentially being handled and sent into one location for storage. But for right now, this right here is great because now we've automated blaze and actual nether quartz, which is heavily used in Applied Energistics, specifically for making fluix. Now that we've gotten our Applied Energistics set up, I really do feel like we've reached that point like you do whenever you play Subnautica, where you finally get your like sea moth and you're able to go underwater and all kinds of stuff. I really feel like we're at that point now, especially with getting our Applied Energistics set up. And it's going to allow us to expand our automation and also expand our power and just make things a lot easier so we can have more fun coming up with clever ideas for solving problems and not need to worry about how am I going to link everything back to my storage and running back and forth. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Of course, be sure to check if you're subscribed by clicking that subscribe button down below or making sure that, you've clicked it. And also give this video a huge thumbs up. Now, if you would be so kind to check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/ChosenArchitect, which I do live stream anywhere between 3 to 4 days a week, if not more. So definitely check that out. ChosenArchitect over on Twitch, link down in the description below. Along with that link down in the description below, you can also find me over on the Discord. We have an amazing community and I'd love for you to join. Now, with that, comment down below, what is the scariest fish you've ever seen? I'll know. You guys commenting, I'll know. You've made it to the end of the video. You guys are the best. And with that being said, it's now time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Talo Lord. Thank you so much for your amazing support, or maybe it's Thalo Lord. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting me in one of the best ways possible. And going absolutely above and beyond, you boss. Thank you so much. And of course, guys, I do appreciate you as well. Look forward to seeing you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.